Hey, beautiful, and welcome to the Healthy High Podcast. Here we are ditching the drama, dropping those pounds, and stepping boldly into your next level. I'm your girl, Nurse Coach Smith. I am a health development coach on a mission to help African American women just like you heal, grow, and live fully in your power. I have a master's degree in nursing, and I am super duper passionate about holistic health and wellness. So I like to blend science, soul, and sisterhood to guide you through your health journey. And we do that here unapologetically. Okay? So before we dive in, here's a quick heads up. This podcast is all about education and inspiration, but I'm not a doctor, so it's not medical advice. Be sure to consult your doctor or healthcare provider before you make any, and I mean any, changes to your health routine. Okay? Now, if you're ready for real talk, real change, and real results, go ahead, hit that like button, drop those comments, and subscribe so you never ever miss a new episode. And wait. Be sure to connect with me on social media. Just look up Nurse Coach Smith. All right? Now, let's get into it because your next level is waiting. And homegirl, that girl at the next level, she not playing. So I need you to sit back, relax, and let's jump right on in. Hey, girl, hey, and welcome back to your safe place to heal, grow, vibe, and reset. This is week 2 of a 3-part series that I am calling You Are Not Moody, You're Hormonal. So, welcome back. Last week, we talked about weeks 1 and 2 of your cycle. This week, we're going to be talking about weeks 3 and 4. And then next week, which is the grand finale of this series, we're going to be talking about perimenopause and menopause. All right. So much to get into this week. Just a little reminder of why I decided to do this episode and why I feel like this series is so very important because we have got to start being more in tune with our bodies. We got to know what our bodies need to function at optimal level. And what better way to start to know more about that than to know more about the 4 seasons within a month in your cycle, right? We know about the 4 seasons in the year. We know how to dress appropriately for those seasons. We know during certain seasons we may want to go outside more versus certain seasons like winter, we kind of want to stay in. It gets darker earlier. We don't want to be out in the cold, right? So we know about the world around us. Why not start to know what's going on within so we can show up optimally to the outside world and we can show up for ourselves, right? So, this is why I believe that this series is so very important. We are so out of tune with our bodies naturally because we have been the strong Black woman, we have been extremely stressed. But as you tune into this podcast, you are taking your power back. And this is what it's all about, right? This is a health development podcast. So, without further ado, let's get into weeks 3 and 4. All right, so weeks 3 and 4 together is called the luteal phase. Okay, 3 and 4 is called the luteal phase. Week 3 is early to mid luteal, and then weeks 4 is late luteal. So let's talk about week 3 or days 15 to 21. Last week we did talk about the fact that a woman's cycle may be about 28 days, give or take. So now we're heading into week 3 or days 15 to 21. So let's talk about what is happening in the body during week 3. All right. So I like to also call this week the wind down phase, right? your body is coming down off of the high energy it needed for the ovulation week, right? So, unfortunately, estrogen begins to decline and it takes those happy hormones with it, like serotonin, okay? Um, as estrogen starts to decline, we start to depend more on progesterone during this time of the cycle. These last 2 weeks rely heavily on progesterone. Estrogen is still in the mix and it's just declining as the weeks go by, but progesterone, it really revs up this week. All right. So let's talk about a little bit of what is progesterone good for during your cycle. So, it gets your body ready for pregnancy, right? You remember, you did just ovulate. So hormones are triggered after ovulation to start kicking up that progesterone after your 14th day. Um, it encourages more thickening of the uterine lining. Progesterone is also good to help sustain a pregnancy. All right. Progesterone calms your nervous system and it has this kind of natural soothing effect, this kind of anti anxiety effect to the body. All right. It makes you feel more mellow, more grounded. It can also, unfortunately, make you feel a little sleepy and a little less motivated, especially comparing to last week, week 2, where you had tons of energy, super duper motivated, ready to go out social networking and all of those things, right? Now you begin to get a little more grounded, a little more reserved, okay? It raises your body temperature in preparation for pregnancy. So sometimes in your third week, you can wake up at night sweating, right? Um, it slows things down. Progesterone slows things down. It encourages you to rest and reflect and have like an inward focus. All right. So you could think of progesterone as a cozy, calm, protective friend, helping your body wind down after having such a busy, energetic week the week prior, right? Week 2. All right. So, what is your mood like during this time, right? So, because of progesterone, right? Your energy kind of starts to dip a little. And the estrogen dipping don't help that either, right? So, you might start to crave a little bit more alone time during this time. You may kind of have the feeling of like a gentle calm, right? Like you're not too happy, you're not too sad, you're kind of just like mellow, you're chilling, right? You do feel grounded, you're more introspective, right? So this is a great time to be reflecting. Um, you may have mild mood swings, some irritability. You may find that you appear to be a little more sensitive this week. Um, and then you may not want to socialize as much, all right? Because you have a little bit of a dip in energy. So let's talk about what we can eat to support what's happening, all right? So what you want to do is you want to focus on foods this week that is going to promote hormone balance, which we talked about last week with the estrogen, those green leafies, but we'll get into. I said eat green leafy vegetables week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, all 4 weeks. Get your green leafy vegetables in because the green leafies really support the fluctuation in the hormones and the mood, right? So it'll keep them at bay a little bit so that you're not wilding out on your kids and your significant other. So you want to also focus on stabilizing your blood sugar and your energy. And then you want to probably eat foods that's going to help to reduce your inflammation, right? So, complex carbs, right, stabilizes the mood, boosts serotonin production, right? While serotonin is declining this week because estrogen is declining and estrogen and serotonin kind of work together in this situation, it's good to have some complex carbs to help boost the serotonin. All right. And serotonin promotes calmness and it reduces anxiety. It's another happy hormone. Um, Complex carbs also support hormone balance and it reduces PMS symptoms. So, what are your complex carbs? Your sweet potato. Another complex carb that I love is purple potato. I find those mostly at like Indian like stores or supermarkets. Um, what else? Oats, your brown rice, your quinoa, your lentils, your chickpeas, butternut squash. Any of those things are great. Spaghetti squash. Oh my God, I love spaghetti squash. I bake it and I just scrape it and then I make it like a noodle and I put all types of things in it. I get tomato sauce. I cook up like a tomato sauce with some spinach in it and some chopped garlic and chopped peppers and put it all together in there. It'd be like spaghetti, right? So those are the kind of foods that you want. You also want magnesium rich food. We talked a little bit about magnesium and zinc last episode as well, right? So magnesium is a natural muscle relaxer. It supports the mood. It regulates the stress response because whether we like it or not, this is an acute stressful event for your body, especially next week, week number 4, because the hormones drop so drastically that it is a little stressful for your body. So you want to prepare for that by eating magnesium rich foods, right? So it helps you to balance your hormones. So what are those foods? Your dark green leafies, right? So your spinach, your kale, your bok choy, your watercress, arugula, all of those things, those green leafy healthy things, all right? Your pumpkin seeds, avocados, and again the dark chocolate, but make sure it's at least 70% dark chocolate. Don't get something with a whole bunch of milk, a whole bunch of sugar. We talked a little bit about that last week. All right. You also want to get in the healthy fats because the healthy fats help you to reduce inflammation and it supports hormone production. Your hormones are made from fat. Okay. So, healthy fats are another food that also I love it because it helps you to feel full for longer. And as you start to ease out of week 3 and the PMS cranks up, you start to have cravings. You're not crazy, you're really having cravings. We'll talk about that in a minute. Um, so the healthy fats will keep you full a little longer. So what are your healthy fats? The nuts, right? Your almond nuts, your walnuts, your Brazilian nuts. I love Brazilian nuts, and you don't need a lot of Brazilian nuts. You just need like 3 or 4 of them. They're huge. They're like this big. They're like this big. And you just 3 or 4 of them, and you're good. Pistachios, cashews, any nuts. Your seeds have your healthy fats, your chia, your hemp, your flax, your pumpkin seeds. All those seeds, very good for healthy fats. Avocado, I talked to you last episode about making guac. I make guac at least once a week, if not twice a week. All right. And then any nut butter, so almond butter, peanuts, any type of nut butter. There's cashew butter. You can drizzle that on top of some type of oats or something that you eat. All right. What do you want to avoid this week? If you want to be in a better mood, I advise you avoid salty, sugary, processed foods, caffeine, and alcohol. Those things will take you over the edge. They will make you super duper irritable and moody. And you're already going through some hormonal changes. So you want to stay away from those things. All right. So, what is your energy like during week 3? You have moderate amounts of energy. So, you don't have as much energy as you had last week, because last week is literally the best week. So, you don't have as much energy as you would have in week 2, but you're not like as bad as you will be next week in week 4. All right. You're kind of in the middle. It's a steady type of energy. All right. Because of the effects of progesterone I mentioned earlier, you might be a little slower, a little less motivated. All right. But this is the best time to finish tasks that were started last week. It is the best time to have some inward reflection, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. You may want to also, you may find comfort in sticking with a routine this week, right? You can be productive without over pushing yourself this week. All right. And schedule downtime. right? This is not the time to go out to the party and to go out socializing. You may want to spend a little more time with yourself and know that that is completely okay. All right. So, what type of movement should you be doing this week? Low to moderate intensity exercises. So, low impact cardio, that's your walking, your cycling, your swimming, your yoga, your Pilates. You might want to do light to moderate strength training. All right. Lower weights, lower weight in your weights, but you want to have more controlled movement. All right. And then mobility and stretching is always a great low to moderate intensity exercise. All right. The most important thing this week is you want to listen to your body. If you need rest, rest, not the whole week. You should be exercising on a regular basis. You should be exercising 3 to 4 days a week, an hour at a time. I forgot the amount of minutes. I think it's 300 minutes a week. But if you have to do 250 this week, if you have to do 200 this week, that's okay, because because of the changes and the fluctuations in your hormones, you just may not be down for it. Still not an excuse to not work out, right? Go for a walk. Go for a walk. All right? And then you want to prioritize recovery after your workout. So making sure you're stretching, making sure you're getting the nutrients that you need to recover from the workout. All right. So that's week 3, right? Not so bad. So it's not the best week. Obviously, week 2 is the best week, but you know, a little more time for yourself may be needed that week, week 3. Now, week 4. You think that week 1, when you're getting your period, is the worst week. It's not, because at least halfway through that week, your energy starts to pick up. You're ready to do things. Week 4, though, it's the worst week. This is PMS territory. All right. Everybody get out of the way. All right. The kids, the husband, the wife, everybody get out the way. The boss, the workers, everybody needs to stay clear out of your way. But you are now going to be aware of the things that you're going through, and you're going to be able to better support yourself through movement, through exercise. I'm going to tell you about some herbs that you can use to calm your mood down. So let's get into week 4. Estrogen and progesterone drops dramatically. Dramatically. They plummet. Okay. And this is what causes all of these PMS symptoms, right? And this is stress on the body. Like, imagine having a large amount of money, $500 million in your bank account, and then you wake up tomorrow and your bank account is at $1,000. Tell me you're not going to be stressed. You will be stressed. So that's kind of what's going on in your body. You had this high level of progesterone, you had like this mid level of estrogen, and now everything all the way down, right? So your body goes through a little bit of a state of stress. So the sudden decline triggers an inflammatory response in the body, because that's what stress does, right? So this dramatic dip in these two hormones makes your body more sensitive to blood sugar spikes, which is why you have your cravings. Caffeine and inflammatory foods like bad carbs or refined carbs, fried foods, and alcohol can intensify your PMS symptoms. So, yes, we may crave it, but it's no good for you. Stay away from the french fries, the burgers, the fast food, the microwavable food, all of that. Keep away from it this week. All right. We'll talk about what you should be eating to get you through this week optimally. All right. So in week 3, the progesterone shot up. Then in week 4, your progesterone is shooting down. That up and down that happens, it slows your digestion and your motility in your stomach, which is why in week 4, we start to get bloated. If you get on the scale, you have a couple of extra pounds, right? So bloating is definitely going to start to occur this week. The rise and fall of progesterone and estrogen causes stress on the body, which, guess what happens? What happens when we're stressed? We talked about that, I think, 2 weeks ago. We release cortisol. And you know that tricky cortisol, it does a lot of things in our body that we don't like, all right? Cortisol can fuel that inflammation, all right? So the hormone crash causes you to have your cramps, your bloating, your irritability, your headache, your sleepiness, tiredness, fatigue, and those cravings. So what is your mood like? You are super duper sensitive. You were sensitive last week, but this week, oh, you are crying, baby. You are crying for the simplest things. You are super duper irritable. Irritable. You also feel very overwhelmed quickly. Like things that wouldn't overwhelm you in week 2, it's overwhelming you in week 4. All right. You may have a lot of self doubt. This is not the week to start a new project. Okay. This is not the week to start something new. You may want more alone time. You may feel sluggish. You may just feel off. Like you just don't feel like yourself. Okay. So, what are we eating to support all of these mood changes, right? We are focusing on eating foods that is going to manage inflammation, manage PMS, and something that'll try to give us a little boost of energy. All right. So, magnesium, back to magnesium rich foods, right? Supports the mood, regulates stress, helps to balance hormones. That's your dark green leafy. That's your pumpkin seeds. Those are your avocados. That's your dark chocolate, right? You want to get omega 3s in this week because your omega 3s are going to help to reduce that bloating and it's going to help to reduce inflammation. So, this may sound like I'm on a repeat, but here are some foods that have high omega 3. Your seeds, right? Chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds. You want to try to get some seaweed in, edamame, and avocado. And remember, avocado also helps you feel full, which will combat those cravings. All right. You want to get some B complex vitamins in to support your mood. There are tons. I think there's like maybe 8 B complex vitamins. So I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I will list off some food sources that have your B complex vitamins in it. And I'm going to sound like a broken record because it's the same old, same old. Your whole grains, sunflower seeds, your legumes. What are your legumes? Your beans, chickpeas, lentils, red kidney beans, cannelli beans, black eyed pea, like all the beans, okay? Asparagus, your nuts. We've talked about nuts, mushrooms, spinach, green leafy, avocados, healthy fat, sweet potato, complex carb, broccoli, cauliflower, banana, nutritional yeast, beets, oranges, all good sources of B complex vitamins. Okay. And then again, your complex carb to support your energy. Your energy is at its lowest. All right. Your good complex carbs, not your french fries that you want to eat because you're having cravings, but your sweet potato, your purple potato, your oats, your quinoa, your lentils, your chickpeas, your squashes. Those are the things that you want to get in this week. Again, what are you avoiding? Because it worsens PMS symptoms. You are staying away salty, sugary, processed, caffeine, alcohol. Okay? All right. Your energy is at its lowest. All right? So you're going to feel drained. You're going to feel foggy. You're going to feel unmotivated. You're not going to want to do anything. You're going to want to sleep more. All right. This is the week where the alarm goes off and you like, snooze. You snoozing like 5 times. Very, very normal. I give myself space for that. When I know I'm in week 4, I set my alarm earlier than I would any other week because I know I'm a snooze. I'm just gonna be snoozing, right? So that's something that I do for myself because I understand what is going on during this week. All right. You may want more alone time. Honor your body this week. Do what it asks of you. If it's more rest, get more rest. If it's more teas, get more teas. If it's more green leafies, get more green leafies. If you want more complex carbs, get those complex carbs. Bake a sweet potato. Put what I love to do, I like to put some grapeseed oil on my sweet potato. I like to wrap it in foil paper, put the oven on 400, put it in there for like 30 minutes, depending on the size. 30 minutes to an hour. I take it out when I can like squeeze it. And then when you open that, it holds all of the juice and the goodness in there. I slice it open. I cook up some chickpeas. I throw the chickpeas in there and I sprinkle some sesame seeds on there. It's to die for. All right. All right. Movement. You want to keep your movement gentle this week. You want to be super duper kind to yourself this week. All right. So, like walking, light stretching, yoga is always good. The goal for this week when it comes to movement is not to burn calories, right? It's just to move, to feel better. Movement and exercises help boost your happy hormones. It makes you happy, right? So you want to get the movement in, not because you want to be this cardio queen. This is not the week to be the cardio queen. All right, that's back in week 2. This is the week to be gentle on your body and know that movement is what you need to boost your mood a little bit and just to maintain health. All right, so let's talk about some herbs that you may want to use in either week 3 or week 4, right, to prepare yourself for your menstrual cycle. Teas. Let's talk about teas first. Chamomile. I think I mentioned chamomile last week. Calms the nerves, reduces anxiety, helps with sleep, helps with cramps, right? So you may want to do some chamomile tea. Ginger. I don't think I ever remember talking about ginger. Ginger is a very, very good anti-inflammatory and it works on your digestive tract well. So if you have bloating, it's going to ease the bloating. It's going to ease the nausea. Some people get their menstrual cycle and they're nauseous. It'll ease nausea and it eases cramps. So, but that makes sense because it's an anti-inflammatory. Raspberry leaf tea. It tones the uterus. It eases PMS symptoms and cramping, and it is rich in nutrients. So that's a good one. We talked about peppermint. It reduces bloating and gas, and it relieves headaches. So if you suffer from headaches a lot, peppermint tea, great for it. Dandelion root, it helps to metabolize estrogen, right? And it reduces water retention. So if you're bloated and full of water, dandelion root is a good one. Side note, I also really, I think I mentioned this last episode. I really love grapefruit for bloating. So if you want to add some grapefruit in this week, that's great too. Week 4 to help with the bloating. Um, Aromatherapies. We've talked about calming, soothing aromatherapies when we started talking about stress a few weeks ago. So, lavender, frankincense, rose. Rose is good for sensitivity. So, we are super duper sensitive this week. Rose is also good to help with releasing emotion and it helps with self compassion, which is what we need this week. All right. All right. So, this episode is winding down, right? I'm trying to keep it quick, 30 minutes. All right. I think we're going to do it this week. So, call to actions. We cannot leave out our call to actions. What's the first one? You guessed it, journaling. So, I have 3 questions that you want to ask yourself when you're journaling this week. Remember, journaling is good because it allows you to be vulnerable, right? And that is one of the major goals that I have for you, my Black sis. We've got to learn to be more vulnerable. Best way to start is to be more vulnerable with ourselves by journaling. So, here are 3 questions I need you to ask yourself this week when journaling. What patterns do I notice in my mood, cravings, and energy during week 3 and 4? Right? More self reflection. Recognize what you're feeling during these weeks. How can I better honor my body instead of pushing through discomfort or guilt? That's a good one. How can you better honor your body during week 3 or 4 instead of pushing through discomfort or guilt? And now that you know what you know, no need to be guilty. What you guilty for? You know that you're going through hormonal shifts. You can be guilty if you're eating refined foods, right? If you're eating french fries, hot dogs, processed foods, drinking alcohol, that's a time to be guilty because you're further propelling and worsening your PMS symptoms that's going on when you have those things. But no need to be guilty. If you are feeding yourself properly, you know that there's hormonal shifts that is going to occur throughout your 4 weeks. Last question. How do I usually respond to myself when I feel irritable, tired, or overwhelmed? What do you do? And now that you know what you know, what can you do moving forward? What did you do before? And what are some promises you want to make to yourself to do moving forward? All right. Two more call to actions that you can or cannot do. It's up to you. I'm rhyming. So the first one, the second one after journaling is track your cycle and take note of how you feel. I think I mentioned something like this last episode, right? Track your cycle. Now that you know what you know about weeks 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Start tracking your cycle. What are you feeling? You're going to be like, damn, Nurse Coach Smith did say I was going to. It's crazy that this is going on, right? Start to take notice of what is happening during what week. Because, yes, I can tell you, but you're an individual, right? And you are the expert on you. I am not. So you need to start tracking yourself. All right. And another call to action, choose one herbal tea or an aromatherapy that you can use to support your mood and your energy if you're in week 3 or 4. If you're not in week 3 or 4, oh baby, it's coming. So choose one, prepare for it, order it, whatever you need to do. Prepare for the weeks to come if you're not currently in week 3 or 4. All right? All right, guys, that is it. You have made it to the end of this episode. Again, thank you for tuning in. If you like the episode, please share it. Share it with any Black woman you know, your mama, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your friends. Share, share, share. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below. I love to read some comments. And if you have any questions, put it in the comments. And if it's personal, no biggie. Send me an email at thehealthyhighpodcast@gmail.com. I got you. I will definitely send you a message back. And follow me on all socials at Nurse Coach Smith. Again, thank you for tuning in. I hope this episode and this series is serving you well. Tune in next week. We're going to talk about perimenopause and menopause. But until then, love you, sis. Peace out.